See, that's a red flag.
Yo, what's good, people? And thank you. I sewed some of it myself. I'm trying to learn mending and darning shit. So there's a couple more holes in it that I want to fill with red yarn. I feel like it's a good little look. Also just getting something off my chest. I'm a little bit disappointed that Tracy Ellis Ross does not like the I'm gonna call it the contemporary hip hop hairline, the shape up. But I feel like that's not precise enough to. Yeah, okay, no, the shape up. I think that I don't need to over intellectualize it. She's not a fan of the shape up because I felt like I did it for her, And then she was like, "No, I like the '90s." You know what I'm saying? Lorenz Tate, natural hairline, the factory setting. She called it. I'm like, it's kind of disappointing. I don't know. I don't know what that means about. I don't know what that means about her. Because to be fair, the shape up is a very precise sort of a look. You know what I mean? Like it doesn't have that rustic, I work on a farm look. It does go back to a conversation we had about the I date white women hairline, though. Because we were kind of inadvertently sort of talking about the shape up. Has anybody done like an essay on the politics of the shape up? Because I'm thinking about, I don't know if any of y'all remember or were around in like the early 2010s with Joshua Kissy and Travis, what's his name? Travis Gibbon or something like that, like Street Etiquette. And they did a editorial like photo shoot or photo series called Crowned. And it was just featuring all these different kinds of like black men's hair, talking sort of very lightly about the history of it. Freeform locks, of course, the obligatory Basquiat mentioned, the Caesar, the all even, the fade. They were just talking. Let me see if I can find it and I'll show you what I'm talking about. Let's see. Yeah, the sort of like earthy look, which is a very particular, like if you've got freeform locks or you've got, like a freeform mini fro, those kinds of things, you know what I mean? That you garden or you plant or you work with wood or that kind of thing. Yeah, it's a very particular, well, at least now it's a very particular subset of, black male aesthetic. Let me see if I can find. Here we go. Oh, this is very 2010s. This is very 2010s. Oh, shit. Let me see if I can find it. Because there's a portrait series from. Can y'all see that? Oh, shit, I'm frozen. Damn, wait. Summer Night, do you have your two things. One, Summer Night, do you have like a pin board or do you have or even just like IG saved? Because you can make in IG what you do is you have like saved lists. So you go like, here's my skincare, inspo. Here's my jewelry inspo. Here's my like my hair inspo. Here's my you know clothing, car inspo. Like what kind of whip do you want to drive? All of that sort of stuff. So yeah, you need to start building those boards and like buying stuff basically. Also another like related thing I've been thinking about like spinning up like I guess a practice as part of this of like friendship or like social coaching because I feel like we talk a lot about friendship and I'm the more and more talking to people I feel like oh I've got like a kind of a little bit of a skill set with it and I feel it feels like we need healing that's in a non-toxic like all right you're a man that's lonely or you're a woman that's lonely, how do we do this in a way that's not about blaming other people, that's not centering sex or relationships or any of that. So yeah, I've been thinking about doing that. Friendship coaching sessions. Here's how to cultivate your friendship. Here's how to grow and strengthen the friendships that you do have. Here's how to start throwing dinner parties, that kind of shit. Yeah. Okay, so let's see. Say yeah, y'all let me know. So yeah, this is Crowned, and this was like yeah, 2012. Yeah. Yeah. What Jesse Boykins the third. Yep, yep, yep. So it's a lot of locks. It's a lot of locks, to be fair. Let me see if I can find the full thing though. Oh, wait, let me see if does their Tumblr still exist? Let's see. Let me see. Yeah, so this is basically a portrait series that they did of now we're in a new thing. But yeah, there's a portrait series that they did covering different, hairstyles and shit like that. But you'll notice a lot of these are, I would say, on the rustic, artsy, side. And there's something about the shape up, which is that like that's a bit normy, I think. You know what I mean? Or that it's because yeah, Tracy and Kiki were talking about it, and they were like, "Oh, it stems from hip hop." And so I do think it's in the same vein as it is still black fashion, but it's specifically coming from like that hip hop uh heritage. Yeah, yeah, no, exactly. Um, and I'm like, yeah, here's how to build your friendship circle because I've had a couple of conversations where people had approached me, sort of asking about that kind of thing, and I'm like, oh, maybe I should just offer that as a service. You know what I mean? Um, because I'm like, yeah, there is very much an art and a science to meeting new people, and I've like, kind of like written some of this stuff down, but like meeting new people, turning those people into like casual acquaintances, introducing people to other people, starting up, little friendship traditions and shit. Um, Finding what types of people you want to be around and what sort of different kinds of friendships you might have because you might have your girls that you go out and drink with, but you might also have your girls that you like go to when you've got relationship troubles that you maybe wouldn't at the deepest level talk to them about. You might have your mentors who talk to you about your job shit. You might have, people that you play sports with, those kinds of things, and kind of figuring out, yeah, I don't know. Mainstream fashion doesn't feel right either, though. Mainstream fashion because it's an you know it's not as old as maybe like bangs, but it's been around since what I don't yeah mid '90s. Is that probably when it would have started becoming popular? Who was the first one? Bet. Well, hey, look, if you're interested, I'll drop the link. Remind me next time we're on live stream because I'm kind of setting up the Calendly now. If you're interested, I'm definitely down for like the one-on-one, like what's your situation? Let's walk through it, make an actual plan, follow through with some accountability later on the next week to actually build friendships, figure out like what style of person you are, how you're most likely to meet people, um, how to continuously follow up. Because I think one of the things that people struggle with the most when it comes to building new friendships is like the feeling of rejection or feeling like maybe you're a pest or you're a bother too early on. Like, okay, cool. I've met just a random guy. I'm a guy. I've met a guy. I think I want to hang. Cool. Should we grab drinks? Do we want to go play a sport? Do we want to go for a walk? And I think like one of the best tools, especially early on when you're building a relationship off of a very weak initial connection, um, is w- is being able to build a regular like get together that lets you cultivate weak bonds and turn them into strong bonds. Because one of the biggest issues is without sort of second or third spaces, like if you university clubs or church or an intramural sports league or that kind of thing where you can continue to bump into people that don't really fuck with you that much yet until eventually they do fuck with you, and then it's like, oh fuck, now we have a budding friendship. But it's really hard to go from like, we've spoken for 5 minutes, hey, do you want to hang out solo? That's like kind of almost like a pickup artist model of friendship building. And one thing that's really useful is going like, "Hey, I have some friends that are getting together next week. You should come along. It's not just about you and I. You should come along. You might make friends with somebody else, but it's a weak bond. So come through, no pressure, chill." And then through those little interactions across time, seeing a person that you share a weak bond with over and over again, then you start to go, you know what? Let's catch up. Do you want to play? Do you want to grab a coffee? Do you want to grab a drink? Let's go see a movie. And then you're sort of building yourself into an actual proper friendship. Um, so yeah, those are the kinds of things. Yeah. So shoot me a message. Shoot me a message. I'll add it on Calendly if you want to book something in. I would go for video if you were trying to do, because I have tried to do vision boards for that, but it didn't. I mean, this is man. I remember an early vision board that was just like it was like it was just cars and bad bitches. That was the whole vision board. Like that's just what it was: stacks of money, cars, and bad bitches that was in this vision board. Um, the current vision board is not that far off, but it's different cars, different bad bitches, and international cash. Um, Yeah, it's really deprioritized because like even when I'm thinking about the pickup artist stuff, I'm like, one of the things that pickup artists never really grew a market for is relationship management. So they just capitalized on how can I have one very specific, very niche subset of social interaction, which is early relationship sexual interaction with women, because that feels like it's like the hardest, scariest, most important thing that you can do as a man, which isn't like entirely untrue. But because of that, like most pickup artists, they're like, yeah, here's how you get a third date and have sex by that third date. That's how you do that. But how do I manage a relationship? How do I be happy? How do I have enough friends that women don't think that I'm a fucking weird serial killer? None of that is really in it. Um, and so walking through and going like, cool, I've had a best friend for 3 years and I feel like I want it to be closer. I want to put them as an emergency contact. I feel like I don't know as much as I'd like to about them. How do I start that conversation? So everywhere in the life cycle of friendship, or early on, I've just moved to a new town. How do I build a social circle? How do I join one? Do I try and create one from scratch? You know, like what are the expectations in this city or that city? Because different cities are people in different cities are more or less resistant to different types of bonding with new people. So I think that life comes from you, not at you. To quote Nigga Chalamet, I don't think that vision boards create anything magical, but what they do is they allow you to clarify what you do and don't want, but they don't do any of the planning or actioning or Gantt charts or calendar events or any of the things that you need to actually make some shit happen. So you make your life happen. Your life is a result of your actions. if we're talking micro, obviously ecologically, there's all the shit that we talk about on the podcast. But for the purposes of this conversation, the things that you have control over your life are myriad. So no, a vision board is like a vision board is like if you've ever worked in sales or fundraising, or political canvassing, there'll be like a thermometer on a whiteboard or on a big piece of paper outlined in red, and there'll be parts of it colored in, and at the top there'll be 6,000 sales, 6,000 registered voters, whatever, and you slowly are building up every time a new 500 no, 500 sales or units or whatever come in, you fill in a little bit more. You would never ask, like, does that thermometer end up resulting in sales? Does that thermometer create sales? No, you make the sales, but this helps you track where you headed and where are you now, and that's what a vision board is. It's goal clarification and tracking, but it's not. Yeah, manifestation is just planning with less self awareness. Perfectly said, Stinker Poo. It's a checklist. All right, let me see. Can y'all hear this?
It's dumb as fuck to not recast T'Challa in Black Panther 2, but some of you are too parasocial to realize that.
Could y'all hear that? Cool, man.
Characters and actors aren't the same thing. But not because you're wrong for having a sentimental attachment to Chadwick Boseman. He was a heroic person and deserves it. But the inability to separate a character who's been around for decades from an actor is fucking stupid. Because yes, while Black Panther is a mantle, for the majority of the character's publication history, it's been T'Challa. And fans of T'Challa's character are not wrong for wanting to see their favorite character live on. But you know who agrees with me? Disney, because they went ahead and said, hey, let's just do T'Challa 2. Because they realized by killing T'Challa off, they painted themselves into a corner and can't adapt decades of his comics. Wow, it turns out killing the protagonist of your new billion-dollar franchise kind of handcuffs the stories you can tell. Who'd have fucking thought? But just like how there are multiple people who've worn the mantle of Batman besides Bruce Wayne, the character of Batman is inextricably linked to Bruce Wayne. And I'm saying that it's insulting to not treat the character of T'Challa with the same respect.
I mean, yeah, this is what I said. Maybe like 8 months after Chadwick died. Like, I honestly, all of this is coming from non-comic book fans. I think the only people that would possibly think that the character T'Challa and his carrying of the mantle of Black Panther somehow should be laid to rest with Chadwick Boseman are only people who found out about the existence of Black Panther in like, what is that, in 2014. Like, be serious. Be serious. The only way you can come to that conclusion is if you're not a day one fan, if you're a new inductee to the Black Panther shit. But T'Challa's Black Panther is the first Black superhero to ever exist in a comic book. The first Black superpowered hero ever in a comic book. To say that character, that person, T'Challa, and his stories should be tied to a particular actor is absurd. There's been many Peter Parkers, many Clark Kents, many Bruce Waynes. What are we doing? I mean, and that's just talking about a lot. There's been multiple Bruce Banners. Like, what are we doing? It's so much bigger than one actor, and it's not even about weighing it up against a different actor. Christopher Reeves fell off the horse. To be fair, it took another decade before they redid it. And so I think that that's part of it, because it is true to some extent that when you have an actor pass, fuck James Bond, that's a white superhero. Basically, when you have a character, actor or performer pass away, there is a little bit of a like, okay, we can redo it, but this is like XYZ was this generation's, character. Because Heath Ledger died and they didn't do another live action Joker for like a decade. Like, when was Suicide Squad? (2016) and The Dark Knight was 2008. What is that? 8 years, so a little bit less, right? So you got to think of it. That's a pretty long lead time. Like essentially, The Dark Knight and Jared Leto's Joker were two different generations. So I do kind of understand that maybe what people are feeling is Chadwick was our T'Challa. You don't get to do it again. He passed away. You got to wait for the next generation of kids, and then they can get a new T'Challa. But I think the problem is he's the first and one of a few black superheroes. His stories need to be told. You know what I mean? And I think also for a lot of these characters, they already have been really canonized and like launched in like multiple different media. So even though we didn't get another live action Joker for 8 years after an iconic performance of a Joker happened, we had like I think 4 or 5 different renditions of that character animated. Um, as far as I can tell, there have been maybe 2, like Earth's Mightiest Heroes and Ultimate Avengers are the 2 Black Panther portrayals that I've seen voiced. And then there's What If, which they did do, and they did have a different voice actor. And there's some, fair enough. I give maybe a little bit more grace than I realized. But the biggest problem is the fact that the MCU is a monopoly on Marvel's intellectual property as portrayed in live action, which means that there's not going to be another spin up A24 Black Panther movie. You know what I mean? With Zendaya as fucking Shuri or some shit like that. They're not going to have that movie. So it's like if the MCU doesn't recast him, if Disney doesn't recast him, then we will not be seeing another live action, Black Panther for another decade until the next generation, and that's just unacceptable. No. Oh, I'll speak on this. African folks, like African national folks, continental Africans versus like foundational Black Americans, African descendants of slaves. There was this conversation that come up, which is like people were mad that, let me see if I can find old boy. Yeah, here. That people were mad that David Johnson, who is, what is he, British? He's like Nigerian. Let me see, Johnson. Oh, wait, fuck, is he Jamaican? British. What is he? Johnson. Okay. So he describes his background as Creole. Oh, Sierra Leone Creole. So he's Sierra Leone, Nigerian, Caribbean, and Swedish. Johnson with 2 S's. That is Swedish. Okay. So one of his parents has a Swedish surname. That's interesting. But anyway, this guy, he's African British, and people are like mad that he was replacing Chadwick, an African American actor. And I'm like, I'm the number one ADOS, performers should be getting paid for ADOS stories proponent on this podcast. This is not one of those situations. Like, yes, it's an American made character and it is iconic to African Americans and many of the writers that have crafted the current iteration of Black Panther as we know it. Ryan Coogler, Dwayne McDuffie, Christopher Priest are African Americans, but the character is an African continental character. He is, if ever there was one, a diasporic character, and he was initially invented by a white man. Stan Lee invented Black Panther. So if I was talking, so in that context, I'm like, if ever there was a character that should be allowed to not be portrayed by a Black American, or sorry, by a African descendant of slaves specifically, this would be it. So even though I'm the number one, we got to stop. We have to stop creating a system that makes it to where Black Americans can't play our own stories in movies. Even though I'm that person, this is not an example of that. Matter of fact, the Black Panther cast, I feel like, should only a few characters in it or cast should even be African American. I think Killmonger being African American makes a whole lot of sense, but T'Challa, I forget what his mom's name is, Shuri, all of them. T'Chaka, make him African. Make them Caribbean. Just it's a diasporic tale. It's a mixed up, made up fucking African nation with a bunch of random hodgepodge um Afro slop as its aesthetic. And I say that, I know that sounds offensive, but like it is. Like you watch the movie and it's like, bro, you've picked language markers and aesthetics from like completely different tribes and elements. It's what's Orientalism but for Africa? It is Hotep Orientalism. It's the same thing that Avatar is. So it's like, cool. Wakanda is where Burundi and Rwanda are. So it should be deeply steeped in inner East African, language groups. You know what I mean? So they should probably be speaking Swahili, not Xhosa, which makes no fucking sense. That's like at the bottom of Africa. That's Tyler's language. That's some whole different shit. Nobody speaks that shit in Rwanda or Burundi. So if if we've already making it up, yeah, fuck it, everybody get in here. There's some African American, there's some Ndebele in here, there's some Shona, there's a little bit of fucking Sierra Leonean and Liberian and Luo and Kikuyu and Dinka. Fuck it, mix everything in. Cool, that's fine. Are you saying American jobs in a different way than I'm talking about it with regard to Damson Idris playing like a 1970s like Compton drug dealer sort of a way, that it's just more broadly they don't want American roles going to British actors? Because that, to me, that I think I give less of a shit about that. I think, should I give a fuck about that? Because it is outsourcing. And that outsourcing shit does have really negative impacts. Like I was listening to the New York Times and they were talking about how part of what we are panicked about in the AI boom and whether or not it's just going to destroy sections of the economy, and people, not even the economy, people's jobs, people's lives. Because I think sometimes we talk about the economy in very depersonalized terms. Here's how many jobs were created and here's how much money the stock, and it's like, bro, that is not a good measurement of people's lived lives. If a job is lost and a new job is created that another person gets, then it doesn't matter. That motherfucker is still on unemployment. So that's a new unemployed person. And then also the unemployment numbers don't even take into account people who just stopped looking for work. That you're now no longer unemployed, which is crazy. Doesn't make any sense. Anyway, but when they were having this conversation about AI, they started talking about the fact that part of what we might want to do if we're trying to have this conversation is like compare it to other previous booms. So they talked about the internet, and the advent of the internet did eliminate a shit ton of jobs from the economy, right? You need way fewer bankers, bank tellers. The movie industry changed, the music industry changed. Store owners of record stores no longer fucking existed. Travel agents don't exist anymore. Or not at the same numbers. So many things that required a human being no longer did because a person could do it themselves, or an individual customer could do it themselves. But the things that they said about that were, one, it created a shit ton more jobs. And with most new technologies, they are implemented very slowly, and slowly enough that people are able to adapt. They have difficulties, but they're able to adapt, right? A travel agent notices their coworker get fired, realizes 6 months from now, I might be fired because we're getting less business. Maybe I need to retrain and get a new job. And that happens quickly enough that they're able to find new employment, find a new, training. They've got a little bit of savings. It doesn't happen so quickly. But whether or not AI will, and y'all know what my prediction is, catastrophe in the next 3 years. But the question is whether or not AI will be implemented across the economy in various businesses slowly enough for individual workers to be able to adapt and governments to be able to adapt. A counterexample they gave in history was the mass shift of production to China. And they were there were whole sections of economies where people dust bowl shit, where it was that there was a period in the 90s where a shit ton of people in individual towns all at once over the course of months, factories got shut down. They lost all their fucking jobs, weren't able to relocate, didn't have the money to do so, didn't have the capacity to retrain. And it all happened way too fucking quick for them to get their footing on top of shifting quicksand. And caused a massive, massive problem and was one of the contributing factors to the opioid crisis, because people were in pain and without money and were very vulnerable to the predatory and deregulated pushing of OxyContin from Purdue, the Purdue pharmaceutical company. So all of that is to say, yeah, outsourcing of American jobs, to the global, Anglosphere might be a problem. Yeah, yeah. Because Sam Jackson did make the point that one of the reasons that British actors get cast in things, even though it requires like additional accent training and shipping an actor from another country to here to America, is because they're not union, which means you can pay them cheaper. It's literally the like worker disenfranchisement model of hiring immigrants, outsourcing. It's the same fucking playbook. Yeah, it's just like, bro, T'Challa is Black Panther. Yes, it's a mantle, but it's a mantle like Superman or fucking Batman or Spider-Man, which are respectively fucking Peter Parker, Bruce Wayne, and Clark Kent in reverse order. Like, what are we doing? You know what I mean? It's disrespectful to the character. Like, T'Challa is third smartest person in the Marvel universe. He has an iconic set of characters. He has an iconic like legacy and set of stories that we want to see, right? Iron Man is Tony Stark. Yeah, other people who've worn the mantle, that's fine. We want Tony Stark stories. I want T'Challa stories, not T'Chaka, not N'Jadaka, not fucking Shuri. I want T'Challa. Fuck you. You know what I mean? I mean, yeah. Look, I suppose. Are there any examples of someone having done that? Because no, to be fair, they did. They did recast Thunderbolt Ross. That motherfucker died. They didn't skip a beat. They just made a joke about him shaving his mustache, and it was Harrison Ford, and they kept that motherfucker rolling. To be fair, nobody gives a fuck about Thunderbolt Ross. Shit, they recast Rhodey because Terrence Howard was talking about that ancient mathematics shit when he was trying to get into the second movie. So I don't know. Yeah, you can absolutely recast him in the middle of a trilogy. He was only like 2.5 movies in. I think I probably would have not have had an issue. Like, I get it. I think that maybe you have a way of having his community support that. You know what I mean? Like, maybe when he's like on his deathbed, have him being like, "Hey, I want y'all to recast the fucking character. This is an important character. I'm so glad that I was able to be a part of this character's story and his history and make my contribution to performing this character. And I cannot wait to look down on y'all and see this character continue onward. Have his like, there's just so much shit they could have done. So I don't think it's that crazy to recast him in the middle of a trilogy. Damson Idris? Yeah, it's fine. If I'm being honest, I just don't think that Damson or this guy have the fucking charisma. Like, I don't know. This guy is dorky as fuck to me. Am I tripping? Because I've seen him in some things, and I feel like David Johnson is dork. Like, he plays dorks, which is fine. We need dorks, but I just do we see this? The motherfucker looks like a pleasure to be around. It'd be like me playing Black Panther. Like, I don't think I have the. I am the king of a sovereign nation. Come on. I don't know. That's a good question. Have we ever recast the main character / lead actor? Let's see what ChatGPT says. You know who I think would have been good? Isaiah Washington, like even just 10 years ago, would have been a perfect Black Panther. Right. The nigga looks like he looks too friendly. He looks like a nice time. You know what I mean? And Black Panther he has to look like a king that you're a little bit afraid of. You know what I'm saying? Like, he looks like he has to look like he chose not to be a dictator. You know what I'm saying? Like, he's nice, he's kind, he's pleasant, he is good, but like, you know that he just has that little bit of danger to him because he's the monarch of a fucking kingdom. Like, that motherfucker does murder. Like, he literally was going to carry out an execution single-handedly by himself on behalf of his nation. Like that motherfucker said, "Hey, we gonna extradite him to Wakanda. I'm going to collect him." He broke the laws of Wakanda, so this nigga Bucky is getting collected by the international police of Wakanda, and we're gonna execute him on anybody's soil. Talk to me about it if you need to. You know, I just can't. Can we really see David Johnson or even Damson Idris really do? I don't know. Isaiah Washington would be great. I think he'd be good. Um, Sterling K. Brown, I don't think he'd be a good Black Panther. And I think I just say that I'm gonna be honest with you. I think he just has too European of a nose. If I'm being real with you, but you would know it was him underneath the mask. You know what I'm saying? He's got that triangle. Lois from Family Guy knows, but he was great as Njobu. Was that his character's name? He was great. Like I was like, wow, he did a perfect job of like weaving between this like secret agent who's pretending to be an African American, who's really a secret agent from like a secret African nation, and seeming both intimidating and thoughtful. It was just perfect. Let me see. What am I doing? I got ahead in a second. Yeah, look, to be fair, it is pretty rare. I was looking up I was looking up instances where a main actor has died during filming and within the same sort of like franchise production house, current cast, and they were like, "There's the Imaginarium of Dr. Parnassus," which Heath Ledger was the main character, but he died, and so they turned it into like a Doctor Who situation where like multiple different people were playing the same character. There's the Matrix, Agent Smith. By the way, I've met Hugo Weaving. He wasn't in it due to conflicts. Fantastic Beasts. Johnny Depp was replaced as Mads Mikkelsen. Paul Walker died, didn't replace him. Chadwick died, didn't replace him. Dumbledore was replaced, but again, not a main character. So you're right. Yeah, I mean, look, that this is very fair. This is very fair. But the MCU is such an exception because the MCU has been around for like 20 years. You know what I mean? Oh yeah, Isaiah Washington is way too old. You know what? Actually, Hulk does count because they did recast Edward Norton and he was the main fucking character and everybody stayed the same. So that's a good point. That is a good point. Though to be fair, it was sort of pre MCU, but regardless, it stands to the point that we've made. So that is 100% great point. Thank you, Mr. Swole Hype. Yeah, I think Aldous Hodge has the energy for it. He definitely has the energy, but I don't know. I think there's a particular look that T'Challa has in my head. And to be fair, Chadwick Boseman doesn't even really have it either. Aldous Hodge too old to play T'Challa one because he was great in Cross. No, I mean for Son, fair, yeah, for Son, sure, but I mean for like I feel like T'Challa Senior, like that should be like a man in their 30s or 40s, And yeah, man, Isaiah Washington, he would be perfect. Let me see, Isaiah Washington. Come on, you telling me that this is an old picture of. Wait, you telling me this picture right here don't look like T'Challa undercover? Come on. Come on. That's T'Challa right there. That's T'Challa. Yeah, come on. What we doing? What we doing? What we doing? Perfect. Yeah. I mean, look, yeah, he is okay. That is, he's a good actor though, but that is true. All right, y'all. I got to head. Thank you for coming through. Speak to y'all soon. Peace, 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 peace. Stay black, everybody that is black. And if you're not, then stay wherever you're at. Peace, y'all.